Every few years in this country, we have a very acrimonious public freakout about who is playing Batman or the Joker or Catwoman or who is directing, and there are people with stronger opinions on this than who is President of the United States and whether or not black licorice is good. And it is, but that's beside the point. The point is that despite these being comic characters, they are part of the American experience and a reflection of the American psyche and how we think about ourselves, fully imagined creations everyone is familiar with and projects themselves upon, and in some ways, yes, that is more important than who the President of the United States is in some ways. Love it or hate it, our popular fiction is who we are. And I say that because I think that Matt Reeves' The Batman is the first movie of its kind that might fail at being wholly entertaining at the cost of succeeding at being actual cinema. Oh, don't worry, I have hotter takes than this, and I think this film says a lot more about American life and cinema than we really want to admit. I'm Dan Umphin, and this is the Doomcast. Before I get too much deeper, do me a favor, click subscribe and the bell. I make about one of these videos a week, and they're all great, so thank you very much. Now let's get into it. Minor spoilers follow until the very end, where I feel like major spoilers are necessary. So if you don't want to see any spoilers at all, please just go see the movie and then come back and watch this now. Thanks. Good art doesn't always sell. Movies, comics, it's true for both. There's a major difference between Tom King and Michael Janine Batman, or Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Batman, or between Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb Batman, or Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle Batman, but everyone agrees that these are all valid. There's no question about it. So is this. Massive difference between Nolan and Schumacher or Matt Reeves' The Batman. Bottom line, The Batman is an excellent film and an excellent Batman film, and artistically way beyond almost any other superhero film that I can think of at the moment. And I feel like this is the first time reviewing a comic film that I can really put the film history minor to work and talk about things like mise en scène. Matt Reeves' The Batman might be Oscar-worthy in the ways that Kevin Feige wants his movies to be Oscar-worthy. A Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Photography, possibly a contender for all of that. But for exactly those same reasons, it's not my favorite Batman movie. The central plot is Robert Pattinson's Batman solving a string of murders by Paul Dano's Riddler. He is aided by Jeffrey Wright, Jim Gordon, and Zoe Kravitz, Selina Kyle / Catwoman, and Andy Serkis's Alfred. In the course of his very detective-focused investigation with very little tech besides grappling hooks and camera contacts, which features a whole lot of very grounded brawls, which are very well shot and well choreographed and impressively lit, he encounters people like Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, Carmine Falcone, and a host of other corrupt Gotham City figures, as well as the dark truths about his parents, unsolved murders, and their own secret lives. Here's what it does incredibly well. It pays homage to comics and comic art from Frank Miller to Francesco Francavilla and Joe Arapo, presents a very grounded, very grungy DIY Batman in his early years, believable criminals with nuanced, impressive supporting performances, astonishing photography, and an impressive minimalist score. And we also don't have to watch the Waynes die on camera again. The heavy artistic touch to the camera work and set design is impressive. A lot of the indoor sets are strongly chosen Gothic revival buildings, and a lot of the outdoor sets are very wet shots of Chicago. Gotham is moist. Every indoor set that isn't Gothic revival is a reclaimed industrial space, and a bat cave has never felt more distinctively full of bat poop. In fact, between the bat poop and cat poop, the main cast entirely all definitely has toxoplasmosis. There's a heavy predominant choice for red monochrome and really noir shadows and highlights throughout the entire movie. There's a number of very close-up shots of different types of lights turning on, from headlights to gas lamps, a thing that I don't think is any kind of accident, especially the red flare close to the end that Batman is holding while he's leading people out of, well, that space. The gunfire that they have Batman taking and walking through is nuts, but the fight scene lit solely by gunfire is incredible. The score and the new Batman theme feels as dour and monochrome as the visuals, and the use of single strings to key up a feeling of suspense, and the minor key piano really harkens back to Hitchcock and other old suspense films. So this is an awful lot to say that obviously The Batman is not a superhero movie, it's a film, a noir film, and I love it. It's got a distinct flavor and direction, and it's not entirely palatable, and I love that. I complain so much that Marvel stuff all feels like a product, and this is a movie that examines America's current psychological state through its pop fiction, and it is not the most fun in the world. It's an artistic achievement. Probably the most cinematic superhero movie that I can think of, like I've said, with a heavier, recognizably stylistic hand than even Nolan's films. My friend Brandon Ream, who is a comedian, joked that this has the rewatchability of Schindler's List. And I gotta laugh. But he's not wrong. This isn't a feel-good movie. There's no comedy to break the tension. There is exactly one joke in the whole movie. So what do I mean when I say America's current psychological state? Well, spoilers follow, so you can cut out here if you don't want to see a plot dissection or any of the cool Easter eggs that I noticed. Okay, Batman in general is built on a few predominantly American themes: anxiety about violent crime, distrust of government and the police, and the notion that wealthy people are inherently benevolent. In the 80-plus years of Batman's history, this hasn't changed. What has changed is how we have dealt with it. The Riddler seems like a pretty clear metaphor for radicalized, very online, it's QAnon. Between cryptic messages and the even cleverly placed anon in certain frames of the film, along with the denouement, which is essentially Batman stopping a mass shooting organized on the internet by Kyle Riddler houses, down to one of them scrambling to grab a gun to shoot the person that's trying to stop them. Does that make Batman woke? Define woke to me then. Maybe realistic in that mass shootings and the killer going free are now a reality that people live with and deal with? I don't think that that's woke. I think that that just makes it really grounded in particular. And remember, kids, when Batman is about to die, what does he do? Exactly. A shot of, well, it might have been adrenaline, but hey, maybe that was venom. Also, there's no small way in which Paul Dano slightly resembled Ron Watkins. But that aside, in this era of political corruption and owned media, we get the backstory that the Wayne's death may not have been what it seemed. A political hit, instead, by one of two gangsters, either Sal Maroni or Carmine Falcone, over the hidden history of Bruce Wayne's mother, Martha Arkham, having a history of severe mental illness. Now, comics fans, as I, would notice several things there. First, the change to make Martha part of the Arkham family, because in comics she was Martha Kane. Second, the reporter who was going to expose them was Edward Elliot, a name that is easily memorable, coupled with the hush money and the word hush, a clear nod to Thomas Elliot and Hush from Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb. This notion of the truth of his parents' death being completely unknowable, his own questioning of whether or not he himself is also mentally ill, the unexpected introduction of Barry Keoghan's Joker, the ill-timed wingsuit landing, all of this makes for a much less confident Batman and Bruce Wayne than we've grown accustomed to seeing on film. And Reeves included plenty of nods to earlier Batman on film. Shakespeare's bust in Wayne Manor, Dory filling in as an Aunt Harriet, the wall run rappel move, I think those are all intentional nods to Batman 1966. Even the stitching on the upper part of the cowl is reminiscent of earlier Batman costumes, including the Adam West. The Batman is probably one of the most cinematic, artistic, well-written, shot, directed, produced, and scored comic films of all time. I forgot what it felt like to be transported into a familiar yet unique artistic vision. Really haven't felt that way since the Nolan Batmans. Far and away, it is a pretty huge achievement. And is it my favorite Batman movie? No, not even by a long shot. But this is what I've been waiting for a while. The films we need, not necessarily the ones that do $1 billion globally. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been the Doomcast. We'll see you again next week.